Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. The conversation in the last couple of minutes has been on the expectations of the MPC meeting, which ends today. Of course, I've been having a conversation with two economic analysts, Henry BOYO and GABRIEL IDAHOSA. Both gentlemen are here with me, are still here with me in the studio. Thank you so much for staying with me. So just before we went on that quick break to catch our breath, I talked about coming back. We're going to be looking at a possible devaluation of the Naira. Since the pressure on the local currency has increased, there's been calls in some quarters that maybe now might be a good time to devalue the Naira.
I don't want to say I like or admire the way you say it's the right time for the devaluation of the Naira, because obviously the consequences of such a devaluation may not be so obvious to you. The impact of a devaluation, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong to devalue the Naira, I'm just saying that the impact of a devaluation at the moment would be more oppressive on the poor. For a very simple reason. If you had, as we have now, almost about 3 or 4 different exchange rates of the Naira, 155, 165, 175, and then of course the black market rate, okay? We don't know where, for example, the fuel subsidy payments would fit in. Whether it would fit in into 155 Naira to the dollar, or 165, or indeed 175 or 180. And that's not to say 175 is the end of the game. The Naira is on a losing streak, unfortunately, deliberately created by the same agencies that pretend to be defending it. Because you had a situation where the Naira has lost confidence. People don't trust the Naira anymore as a store of value because there is too much of it in circulation. That is why the central bank is every day crying of excess liquidity. That's what it means. It means that there's so much surplus Naira in the market, so that at any one time, when you juxtapose this surplus Naira and unendingly surplus Naira for 20 years, constantly against rationed dollar supplies, the fate of the Naira is doomed to fall. So you have a situation where, although you said Mr. Sanusi was busy trying to stabilize the rate of the Naira, that also is a misconception. The issue is not a stabilization of the rate of the Naira at any level, but a stabilization of the rate of the Naira at a level that would drive industry, that would help social welfare in terms of purchasing power. Because when you have, you predict or say it's a good thing to have a devaluation as at now, is it the right time? You are going to have a situation where if the crude, the price of fuel is priced at 175 or 180, there has to be a 20% increase in the price of fuel, not minding that there's a fall in the price. So in other words, nothing much would change. But if it goes beyond 180, goes to 200 or thereabout, because there is no way now you can put a lock to it, because people have lost confidence in the Naira, and the only way you can do that is by what? As I've said, reducing the quantum of Naira. You news media people should ask, why is it that there's so much surplus Naira, and why? How does it come into play? Is it not true that when the CBN unilaterally captures the dollar earnings and calls it its own reserves and prints in return Naira that flush the system, it has negative impact on those 3 factors that CBN would want to keep stable, i.e., the rate of inflation would be higher because of too much money coming into the system. The cost of funds will be much higher because there will be a need for central bank to mop up at higher prices and deprive the real sector of funds. The exchange rate of the Naira would also be weaker. Why? Because there's so much quantum Naira chasing limited ration dollars supplied by the same custodian of Naira. How can you have the major monopolist of the dollar also as the sole producer of the Naira? You can't have equity, transparency, and you cannot have an equitable rate of exchange for the Naira under those circumstances.
Let me quickly come to Mr. Idahosa on this, because we're clearly running out of time. Now, based on what Mr. BOYO has said, and in light of where we are, should there be a shifting in the band of the naira to the dollar exchange rate from where it is at the moment. At the moment, it's between 150 and 160. But we've seen that the CBN can go out of that and sell, you know, to end users at 162. So should it be shifted?
It's not should. The CBN has no choice. You see, the CBN does not export oil. The CBN does not create dollars. We have to understand that the CBN does not produce dollars. So the CBN does not have dollars to decide how much to defend the naira endlessly and decide which band, whether it's 150 to 160. It can only do that with the reserves which are draining. It has no choice because it's going to get to a point where CBN says, I need this stock of dollars for at least 6 months or 3 months of trading as a country. You cannot defend the naira below that level. So the CBN simply has no choice. But it is how fast the CBN will react. And what Mr. BOYO is saying, which is the real solution, the CBN has consistently refused to do, which is to say, if we sell 2 million dollars of oil this month, let's say $10 million of that belongs to Lagos State. Why don't you give that $10 million to Lagos State? What the CBN does now is keep the $10 million and print a lot of naira. Give it to Lagos State. Lagos State want to buy equipment. It goes back to the same CBN to say, I want to buy dollars again. So you have this artificial creation of naira. That is what CBN needs to do. If we don't do that, you'll be shifting the band, 150 to 160. Then when you find the foreign reserve is too low, 170 to 180. When it's too low, 200. You know, you've got to go and deal with the reality of the situation.
So, as it is, your expectations are that there's going to be a status hold on the rates the way they are?
Well, that will be only delaying action. If they don't take any action now, they're going to do it in the next meeting. So they better take some action now. Mr.
BOYO, they think the same thing too.
Well, as I said, they are confused and a confused bunch because it is clear from what we have been discussing that obviously, you know, the solution is very clear, but they come and talk plenty of jargon and 5 pages, 6 pages of communique, which mean nothing because they have refused, as Mr. IDAHOSA has said, to attack the problem from the root. The cause of excess liquidity. That is what is the real challenge. Once that is done, you'll find that the exchange rate of the naira, instead of falling, will actually be appreciating.
Fast, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on the program. Of course, we'll wait to know the outcome and the monetary pronouncements from the Monetary Policy Committee, which should be any minute now because they actually started the meeting at 9 a.m. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in this morning. Mr. GABRIEL, IDAHOSA, always a pleasure to have you. Mr. Henry BOYO, a pleasure as well. Well, that's today's edition of the program. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, we've been looking at expectations from the Monetary Policy Committee, which ends today. And like what both gentlemen said, it remains to be seen what the CBN will be doing at this particular point in time. Of course, there's definitely a need for them to drastically shift their position and ensure that the economy, particularly the real economy, begins to grow. I also like to thank those who sent in their messages. Rejoice Dan actually sent in a tweet. Thank you so much for that. And Chukwuemeka Obi, thank you also for sending in your message. Hopefully we'll be getting to read and address it in subsequent editions of the program. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Harriet Agbenyi. Bye-bye.